Welcome in, everybody, to episode one of Talking with the Boro Boys. We had a lot of exciting things happen in the sports world over the weekend. Um, let's get right into best NFL performance of week nine NFL. What do you got for us, Connor?
So, best NFL performance of the week, I'm going to go with Drake London for the Falcons, wide receiver. He put on a show up in Foxborough. Falcons didn't get the job done, but he was spectacular. He had 9 receptions on 14 targets for 118 yards and caught 3 touchdown passes from Michael Penix. And also, just some of the catches he was making were all contested. He's 6'4", 215. He put on an absolute show. He's up to almost 600 yards on the year. Obviously, he's missed a couple games, so that's my best NFL performance by far. He put on a show in Foxborough, and ultimately they didn't get the win, but he showed out for sure and showed that he's easily top 10 wide receiver in the NFL. Arguably, you could put him in the fringe top five. But if you look at some of his receiving receptions on the year from the game logs, he's had 10 one game. He's had 8 twice and 9. So he's putting together a good year, and he put it on display this week with another big performance.
Yeah, no doubt he's a dog. It got to the point where Penix was just like, I'm going to throw it down there and hope he's down there somewhere. He did Gonzalez pretty dirty. Uh, Yeah, but anyway, my performance of the week, I'm gonna have to go Sam Darnold. 16 for 16 for 282 and 4 touchdowns in the first half with a perfect passer rating. Didn't really have to do much in the second half. I mean, they were already up 4 scores against the Commanders, which isn't a very healthy team right now. Ended up the game 21 for 24 with 330 and 4 touchdowns. But going one half of football in the NFL not with without an incompletion is pretty damn impressive. Tagging that along with 4 touchdowns, that's going to get my dog of the week.
Right, and to piggyback off that a little bit, I mean, it's kind of pick whatever one you choose, flip a coin. Darnold, Drake London, they were two of the best. But like you said, to get even in the NFL, regardless of what defense you're playing, 16 to 16 is as good as you can do, obviously. But
Right.
just he was hitting every throw, whether it was the out boundary, deep ball, over the middle, and that was without Cooper Cup. Obviously, he's got JSN, but um, those were two pretty big performances. Let's jump in right into the game of the week. 4 o'clock slate. Jim Nance, Tony Romo on the call. CBS. The Chiefs dropped one of the Bills, 28-21 in Orchard Park. Could be a preview of a playoff matchup we see, like we've seen before. Mahomes and Allen head to head. What are your thoughts on that one overall?
Yeah, it seems to be, it's kind of the exact opposite. Josh Allen kind of owns Mahomes in the regular season, and then once the playoffs come around, it's the other way. But
Yeah.
yeah, Allen with another great performance. I mean, 23 to 26, completing 86% of his passes. He threw for a touchdown. He rushed for two. One thing I will say though, last year in the playoffs, they did that same. I don't know if you want to call it tush push, QB sneak. They ran it to the left every time. It seems they're keeping that same trend this year. All that's changed is they added, you know, I don't even know what you call him, a fullback or whatever to push
Yeah.
Allen through. But, maybe try running it to the right a couple times and see how it goes. But other than that, James Cook had another good game on the ground, rushing for 114 yards. Josh Allen really likes to spread it around a lot. There's no really wide receiver one in Buffalo. But Dalton Kincaid really took charge. 6 receptions for 101 yards and a touchdown. Coming from your tight end, I mean, you can't really ask for much more. And then we look at the other side of the ball with Mahomes and the Chiefs. Even though the Bills' defense was kind of, they had missing pieces throughout their front seven and secondary, it felt like they were on Mahomes every play. There wasn't a lot of time to throw the ball. When he scrambled, they had a spy on him getting to the quarterback. But Rice, he's continuing to have a great year. He missed the first 4 games, but he's coming back strong. One of Mahomes' favorite targets. I mean, that's obvious. 4 receptions for 80 yards and a rushing touchdown. They're kind of getting him involved in every asset of the game. And then, yeah, that's about it from my side. Um, let's hear your take on it.
Yeah, I agree with all that. It was another classic between Mahomes and Allen. Must watch. Allen played great. 23 of 26, like you said, but it was really the Bills' defense what impressed me because they've been suspect through most of the year. Even a couple weeks ago, go back to that Monday night game when Atlanta and Penix just lit them up, blew them out. And even though Allen had a couple picks in that game, but they sacked Mahomes 3 times, hit him 15 times, and that's definitely, making noise in the backfield for sure. I felt like Mahomes was running around almost every play, and he definitely took some big shots. So that was for sure a point of emphasis going into the game. But like you said, Bill's offense, they were able to get James Cook going on the ground, 114 rush yards. I mean, if you're going to get that, then that opens up just about anything. And then Kincaid had another big game, for 6 for 101 with a touchdown. It seemed like he was open all the time. But the main thing is what I took away is looking at the time of possession. Bills won the time of possession by 10 minutes, so really just controlled the game, and up front on both sides of the ball. And they stopped the Chiefs on 10 out of 13 third downs. So it's going to be, even though the Chiefs lost by a touchdown, it's going to be tough to win when you're not converting on third down. But like you said, we'll probably end up seeing this matchup again, going forward. We seem to see it every year, whether it's AFC Championship or divisional, whatever. But now the Bills are 6-2, Chiefs 5-4, sitting outside of the playoffs right now. But we all expect them to get back in it and make a run, even though they're in a tough division. But
Yeah, that Chiefs
yeah,
division, I mean, everybody but the Raiders is playing pretty good
right,
football. So
right.
it's going to be exciting to see, what team, you know, if one team misses out, who's it going to be? And, it could be the Chiefs, who knows? But it seems like every time these two teams play, Shakir does a little bit of everything. I mean, he's back there returning punts, but then from an offensive standpoint, he's motioning all over across the field. He's catching balls. Him and Josh Allen just have such a good connection when he's with the scramble drill. He can find Shakir, and it just seems like he always has a really good game against the Chiefs.
Yeah, it seems like he's got a knack for getting open, like in zone coverage. He's always sitting in the soft spot, running upfield. Because, like you said, they don't have a number one. They haven't really been able to get Keon Coleman going, which a lot of people expected him to have a huge year. So it's really Josh Allen on the ground, Cook on the ground, Kincaid, Shakir, and a little bit of Keon Coleman. Looking at the box score, he only caught 2 balls for 17 yards, so he was really a non-factor. So, but it was the James Cook and Josh Allen show for sure.
Yeah. All right, let's go ahead and get into MVP frontrunners through week 9.
All right, well, my MVP right now, sitting here, week 9, going into it, is going to be Drake May. It was kind of a toss-up between Drake May and Josh Allen. Jonathan Taylor definitely had consideration going into last week, with that tough performance in Pittsburgh. And it's just tough for running back to get it in general. I'm going to go with Drake May. Just looking at a couple of his numbers on the year, he's completed 74% of his balls, 74% completion percentage, thrown for 2,200 yards, 17 touchdowns, and 4 interceptions. Now, he has had some fumbles, so the turnover number is different than the interception number. It's a little bit higher. But overall, he's elevated the talent around him. Sitting here, I would never have guessed the Patriots would be 7-2. And yeah, you can play the soft schedule game, but the reality is they just have been beating most teams by 20 plus points. So that's kind of the sign of a team trending in the right direction. Looking at some of the scores, beating Tennessee 31-13, Cleveland 32-13, and then went into Buffalo and actually beat Josh Allen. That's part of the reason why I went with Drake May in this. But there's another stat that's 8 straight games with 200 pass yards and 100 plus passer rating, and the only 3 other quarterbacks to do that was Brady, Rodgers, and Manning. So that's about as good company as you can be in. Um, so we'll see. Going into Tampa will be a huge test for sure. Going down into South Florida, that'll be the biggest game yet, other than that Buffalo game. So we'll see. But I'm gonna give Drake the edge on MVP.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to disagree with you there. Like you said, they're 7-2, but they had a really good chance to be 9-0. If you really think about it, the Steelers, that was a sloppy game, but they were in it, till the last second, as well as the Raiders in Week 1. So it is really hard to disagree with that, but I am going to take Josh Allen up to this point. I do think he's going to repeat. Um, he's the league leader in total touchdowns. You kind of expect that from him because it's almost like he gets a passing and rushing touchdown almost every game.
Right.
You know what you're going to get with him. The team's always going to be on the higher side in the win column. With that being said, it kind of gives him an edge in the MVP talk. He's going to have top tier completion percentage and QBR rankings. Um, but yeah, it's really hard to disagree with because of what May's doing right now. I mean, like you said, nobody thought that team was going to be 7-2. Vrabel's got them playing really good together, and I think that they just have like such a good. It seems like they're all friends. You don't
Yeah.
hear about anything outside of the
Yeah.
locker room.
I mean,
Like,
Diggs, like he's caused issues in the past, but it seems like he's all bought in, which is a good sign. So, like you said, I mean, it seems like the buy-in's there, um, but I mean overall, it's probably going to come down to Mahomes, May, Allen, um, and maybe someone else squeaks in there. But Baker, he was in there until after that tough one in Detroit. So, but a lot of football left to play. But I mean, that's just our basically halfway to go. Our MVPs.
I
Well,
mean,
we had a lot of. Go ahead.
before last week, it really has turned into a quarterback award over these
Right,
last
right.
couple of years. But I mean, last week that I said JT, I wanted JT to win it. But it's hard as a running back. You have one good game and you're basically out of the conversation.
Yeah, yeah. It's tough as a running back. Like we were talking about Saquon last year was so good, and he ended up winning Offensive Player of the Year, which is about as far as the running back will go as award wise. Which a running back hasn't won it in the NFL, the MVP, in 12 years. Um, so if JT goes on a tear, maybe we see a push late from him. But let's jump into some trade talk. It is trade deadline day. That has passed 4 p.m. NFL trade deadline. Some big blockbusters, you could say. You got Sauce Gardner to the Colts. You got Quinnen Williams to the Cowboys, which was a big one. You got Shaheed to the Seahawks. A couple other small ones sprinkled in there. But what's your overall thoughts on trade talk? One of the biggest moves you say that'll have the biggest impact on a team going forward.
Yeah, a lot of big moves being made. Heading into the trade deadline, you knew the Jets were going to be involved in a couple players. I didn't necessarily think it was going to be two. I thought it
Yeah,
was going to be three or four,
yeah,
but they landed on trading two away. I think the biggest impact is going to be Sauce Gardner to the Colts. You know, the Colts, their front seven is really good, and just adding Sauce Gardner into the secondary, I mean, arguably you can say one of the top five corners in the league.
right.
Um, and it's like I don't want to say that it's easy to not try your best when your team's 1-7, but you know, going from a 1-7 team and then going to sleep and waking up to being a 7-2 team, I mean,
Yeah,
that's a bit of a difference.
yeah,
Not only does it upgrade the secondary, but it sends a message to the team. They're ready to contend right now. They don't want to contend in a couple years. They want to contend right now and get to a Super Bowl. I mean, at this point, what's stopping the Colts from making it out of the AFC?
Right. And it seems like the AFC is definitely more wide open this year than years before. You don't have the Chiefs at the top. You don't have you do have Josh Allen, but you got the Patriots up there, Denver, and the Colts. No one really expected that going in. And yeah, Sauce, like you said, just being motivated, going over to Indy, it's going to be hard not to be motivated to up his game and look like old Sauce Gardner. But I'm going to have to go with Rashid Shaheed to Seattle from New Orleans. I completely agree with Sauce and to Indy, but I think Shaheed to Seattle unlocks a new element in their offense. You got JSN, everyone knows about that. Darnold's playing at a high level. Some would say MVP soon, caliber maybe. And then you got Cooper Cup, who was injured last week, but Cooper Cup's Cooper Cup if he can stay healthy. Good slot guy. But then you unlock a deep ball and a lot more speed on Seattle. You got a couple tight ends over there. I think that makes them, going to be a tough offense to defend. You can't put all your eggs on JSN now. You got to look for the deep ball. You're definitely going to have good safety play when you play Seattle. You're going to have to tackle well, all that. We knew New Orleans was probably going to be in sell mode. We didn't know what to extent, if Kamara would be traded, if Olave. But Shaheed to Seattle, I think, is a big move for the Seahawks to say, we're buying into this year. We believe we can win. And talk about a tough division. I mean, you got Seattle, San Francisco. Mac Jones looks great. He's playing well in that Shanahan offense. And then you got the Rams, obviously, and Stafford. And that's another one that could be in the MVP conversation soon. So I don't disagree with Sauce at all. I think that'll be big for the Indy. It'll be interesting to see what kind of level he plays at going into the Colts.
Yeah, I didn't really necessarily think that Shaheed was going to be involved with the Saints selling. I thought it would be Kamara or Olave,
Right.
but this just unlocks so much for the Seattle offense. I mean, you watch them the past couple weeks, and you're like, who's not open?
Right.
So then
Yeah.
you add this piece in, and I mean, it's going to be hard to cover these guys. I mean, JSN, he almost wins all. You could throw him the ball 20 times a game. He almost wins every time off
It's
the line.
almost like he's always open.
It really is
I mean,
like
he always like it's
it's
rarely
ridiculous.
it's a contested catch, and that's credit to Darnold or JSN or the scheme, whatever. But it's almost like he's always open.
Yeah, JSN, Cooper Cup, they got Thornton still. Two good tight ends. You got a committee backfield, but both are really good.
Right. Yeah.
So their offense is going to be clicking on all cylinders.
And it seems like their offensive line is always good too. I mean, Darnold definitely doesn't seem like he's under pressured a lot. And like you said, it was a depleted Washington defense with a lot of holes and injuries. But but that'll be interesting to see how Shaheed fits in there. I'm excited to see them. They'll be a tough out for anyone for sure. And plus, you got factor in that place, Seattle to play is.
Right.
It's going to feel like old Seattle, Legion of Boom.
12th
That
man, all of
12th
that.
man. Yeah. So, well, we'll get into college hoops. A good way to open up yesterday with some big games. Had Arizona and Florida, and then had BYU and Villanova. And we got some more tonight, and we're into the hoop season. I know you were big on Cole Pete last night. What were your thoughts on him and that game?
Yeah, really good game. I mean, pretty much came down to the final seconds. Really high scoring game. You kind of got to expect any game that Florida's in, it's going to be high scoring. Um, Florida ranked number three, though, taking the loss to Arizona. At halftime, I looked at the box score, and Arizona had only made two threes, and I think that had 40 or more points. That's
Yeah.
pretty dang impressive.
Yeah.
Um, Koa Pete, I mean, very talented, very high recruited player out of high school. He played for Arizona's coach on the USA team, so they kind of already built a bond and know what each other are about. But just taking a look at his stat line, 30 points, 11 from 18 from the field, 7 rebounds, 5 assists, 3 steals, and a block. I mean, you talk about padding that stat sheet. That's pretty much doing it all. And they needed it all. They came out with the win, and he was a very big part of that one.
Yeah, and he'll probably end up being a top 5, top 10 draft pick for sure. But yeah, like you said, that was a really good game. Fast pace, impressive for Arizona to win. Especially after Florida's national championship run. Florida got a couple new players, with Boogie Fland and Xavier Lee. But Cole Pete, man, he's going to be a force to be reckoned with in the Big 12 and in the country for sure. That stat's crazy that they only had two threes. I'm
Yeah,
gonna,
he kind of reminds me of Boozer, just the way he's bouncing off people
yeah,
and getting
yeah. I
to
mean,
the
he's got
rack.
that size. I'm gonna talk a little bit about Duke. We got Duke is currently 8:26, so they tip off in about 19 minutes. We got Duke in Texas tonight. Duke started off with 7.5 point spreads, opened up at 7.5, closed at 10.5. So they're expecting a 10-point game. Duke's an interesting team this year because you got Boozer and you pretty much know what you're going to get from him, but it's who around him is going to step up. Is Slim going to have that big year? Big sophomore year that everyone expects. Is Caleb Foster going to have a big year? And then a couple transfers, or one transfer, Dame Sar, who is from Italy, I believe, will be big, for defense, rebounding, and sharing the rock on offense. He's shooting it pretty decent. You got Pat Gumbo down low in the center. So Duke's their schedule's ridiculous to start the year, but it'll be interesting to see how they respond to that with a different looking team than last year. Last year we know Flag, Khan, and then Caleb Wilson out of North Carolina looks really good. It's kind of the guy they haven't had in a while. It seems like a lottery pick like that. He looks like he's going to be huge for them this year. Although he's not shooting the three much, seems like everything he gets is almost a dunk. So I'm excited for college hoops to get going. But Duke and Texas should be a good one tonight, and then Kansas Carolina on Friday night in the Dean Dome.
Yeah, you kind of know what you're going to get from Boozer. I mean, you've seen it in the two exhibition games. I mean, he's just a monster. I mean, 23
Yeah.
points, 24 rebounds. I mean, that's pretty impressive. That is just an exhibition game, so I am excited to see what he brings to the table. But for Duke, I feel like what's more important is what is the supporting cast going to bring. Like you said, Slim, Foster, everybody's talking about their breakout years. But it seems like Duke's always got a white guy that's feisty and knows how
Yeah.
to play ball, and that's what they got this year. And Nick, I'm excited to see what he brings to the table. But yeah, like you said with Carolina, they haven't really had that lottery pick. They thought it was going to be Ian Jackson, Drake Powell. That didn't really pan out. Drake Powell to the league in the later rounds, and then Ian Jackson transferred. But you
Right.
know, it's only been one game and wasn't necessarily against a very good team, but it did seem like he could get to the rack whenever he wanted, however he wanted. So it'll be interesting to see how he goes down the road.
Yeah, he was having his way for sure. I mean, it was Central Arkansas, so take it with a grain of salt. But let's get into the underdog of the week. We're gonna every week we'll be picking underdogs on here, whether that's spread, money line, could be pretty much in any sport. Um, it'll tend to be NFL much. What do you got as your dog of the week?
My dog of the week, I'm going to go with Sunday Night Football. I'm going to go the Pittsburgh Steelers, 3.5 dog versus the Chargers. Looking at this Chargers team, you see both tackles are out, not playing. You see a Steelers really good defensive line. It seems like since the injuries to the offensive line, Herbert's been hit a lot. He's been running around a lot. Although he is making a lot of plays doing that, I feel like it's just going to wear and tear this game especially. I mean, Aaron Rodgers on a primetime game. I mean, his track record. So I'm going with the Steelers plus 3.5 at the Chargers. That is my dog of the week.
I like that. Yeah, like you said, I expect T.J. Watt to definitely get to Herbert often. I hate to hear the news about Joe Alt going down, but the Chargers, it's kind of one of those teams you don't know what to expect, what you're going to get out of them. And I don't know if it starts with Herbert or what, but it's just a weird team to predict. The Steelers, you got a Mike Tomlin coach team. They will be ready to go. The defense hasn't played great to start the year, but last week looked great against Indy. So I like that dog of the week. I'm going to go with the Vikings at home against Baltimore plus 4.5 against the spread. Lamar's back. We will see what the Ravens look like going forward. We all know, the Ravens at their best are really good, one of the best teams in the NFL. I'm a big fan of Kevin O'Connell in Minnesota, what he does. JJ didn't throw for that many yards. I think it was only 150 last week against Detroit, but that defense was flying around. It kind of looked like the Vikings defense of old, and I think this will be a really tough physical game. Who can stop the run? Let's see if, the Vikings can stop Derrick Henry and Lamar on the ground. You got Flores, the defensive coordinator for the Vikings. He'll throw 10 different looks at you. But yeah, we'll see what JJ can do. Jefferson over there. We'll see if Aaron Jones is back as well. My dog of the week, I was, looking at a couple, but I'm going to go with the Vikings plus 4.5 at home against Baltimore.
Yeah, you're looking at JJ, and he's already been in a couple big time games throughout his rookie track. The Ravens wise, I mean, their defense has been pretty much piss poor all the
Pretty
way
much.
through. I mean, I know they're dealing with some injuries, but at the same time, a lot of the same guys, and it's really piss poor. They did look good against last week, but it was against the Dolphins. I
Right.
mean,
Yeah.
so take that with a grain of salt. But also, we'll see what Flores does to confuse Lamar Jackson. Different schemes, pressures, all that. I think that's a good pick. I do like them at home. Um, yeah, like we said, we'll keep a record of these. Hopefully, we both start off 1-0 and get the ball rolling. But yeah,
Yeah. We'll keep a record. We'll see how we do. Maybe we go 0-10, whatever to start. I wanted to, if we
this
had
is
started.
not betting advice. This is not
No,
betting
don't
advice.
throw this on the lay. Go ahead and pick your own bets for the lay. But that'll do it for this week. Pretty much covered everything we're going to cover. NFL, Little Hoops, MVP. We'll appreciate everyone tuning in. We'll be back next week with another episode. We'll have more of a game of the week, more picks for the underdogs. We'll also recap how our underdogs picked look. Wouldn't be surprised if we both go 0-2. Just how it may work out. But anyways, appreciate y'all joining us. We hope all y'all's parlays hits. We hope all y'all's teams win. And we'll see you next week.
All right, guys, be tuned to turn into the socials. Instagram, TikTok, we'll be posting clips on there as well. Like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.